Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Kauai County Council Roundup here live at the recorded at the Hawaii studio.
Here.
My name is Mel Rapozo, Chair of the Kauai County Council, and we have
Aloha, I'm Bernard Carvalho, Planning Chair.
Yeah.
Planning Department.
former mayor.
Former mayor. Aloha.
Good dude. Anyway, we're recapping our meeting from Wednesday, March 6th. Short agenda, long meeting, awesome discussion, and we'll just start right off the top. We had a administration command by law. Anytime the administration wants to destroy records, it needs to come to the council and it needs the council approval. And so that was what it was. We had a discussion, and some records, in the opinions of most of the council members, if not all, was that some records should not be destroyed regardless. We should digitize it, store it somewhere in the cloud forever. But the majority of the documents that comes through this county does not need to be.
Yeah, some.
So that was a discussion. Again, you can watch our meetings live at www.kauai.gov. Click the webcast meetings button. You can watch it live on Wednesdays at 8:30. Or all of our meetings are archived there. You can find it there, or of course on Hawaii Channel 53. We appreciate Hawaii for allowing us to air our meetings and then to have us come up here and do a recap. So that was the first item, quite minimal. But then we had an update from our wastewater division.
Yeah.
Councilmember Carvalho and I, for a long time now, have been working with our administration, in fact, dating back to when you were the mayor, actually.
Yeah, back then, yes.
Regarding our Wailua wastewater treatment plant, which is that nice little building down at Lidgate Park. It's old, it's in disrepair, and we believe it needs to be moved.
Yes, definitely. We talked about that, Mel. You know that from long time ago. And
long time ago.
Just relocating, getting out of the sea level rise area, if you will, and having an opportunity to move it across the street, Mauka.
Correct.
And at the same time, connecting with Hawaiian Homelands to maybe open up opportunities for housing. That was a bigger picture. But the bottom line, getting it out of that zone area and moving it out. Not tomorrow, today.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big picture for us.
We have spent millions of dollars repairing that old site. And in fact, only half of the plant is operating right now. We just approved funding from our state, which we talked about a few weeks ago right here in Hawaii, regarding the revolving fund at the state, so we can at least keep the plant running. But at the end of the day, we need to relocate. And for the longest time, our administration was wanted to just harden that structure, improve that structure. And Councilmember Carvalho and I reached out to Hawaiian Homelands, and they were very cooperative, because right across the street, across the highway, by the jail area, that's all Hawaiian Homelands. And the original plan was to build housing there, a mix between housing and agricultural lots. So it was a perfect opportunity for us to partner with Hawaiian Homelands and build a new sewer plant that would not only service Hawaiian homes, but also the County of Kauai residents that live in the Wailua, Kapa'a area.
And again, exactly how Mel said, that was a total positive outcome as far as we're concerned, to relocate and at the same time open up housing in a central location of our island for Hawaiian families.
Right.
I mean, that was another big plus, if you will. So again, working together, coming up with funding together, and then creating this housing opportunity, if you will, for Hawaiian families in a central location. And at the same time, addressing the sea level rise issues that is across the street and opening up the doors. So I think that was the biggest piece right there.
Yeah, and creating capacity for the house lots, the homesteads, Kapa'a.
Exactly.
We would be able to accept all of it and start to plan to sewerize these areas so we can get people off of cesspools. So anyway, we had the HHL was at our meeting, and their plans have changed. Their plans now is to move that housing development. They're in the process of purchasing land behind of Immaculate Conception School in Isenberg, and they're going to put up 1,000 homes and 200 ag lots. So while we are happy about that, because honestly, it's a better location.
What is 300 acres? Right? So
yeah, it's a mega parcel.
Yeah, we agree. I mean, that's a good thing. However, we still don't forget this side of it, and that's where we're at right now. Yeah.
So it changes the negotiation, because now Hawaiian Homelands might possibly use the Wailua lands for farming, for ag, which wouldn't require a sewer plant. So I won't say we're back to square one, because the HHL, to their credit, is very willing to work with the county and maybe possibly provide us a parcel where we can actually put the sewer plant, because the farm lot's gonna need water.
Yeah, you're gonna need water. It's a plus farm lots here, and then you have residential in the Lihui area, like I was mentioning. So you got both sites going at the same time. But the biggest thing, the commitment to relocate that wastewater treatment plant at Lidgate across.
Yeah. And the effluent from
And the affluent.
the new plant could be used to irrigate the farm lots, which would be a win-win for everybody. So the work still continues, man.
Continues.
Oh my
A
God.
lot of discussion, a lot of follow-up. I mean, it's all, on the table, but at least it's moving, I think, no, I think I know, in the right direction, but we got to keep on it.
Got to keep the foot on the pedal.
Yeah,
That's
don't
kind of
let
how
go.
it is. But a lot of people think we just work on Wednesdays. Yeah, we show up for Wednesdays and we vote, but a lot of this stuff is being done every day of the week. And appreciate Councilmember Carvalho with his. That's the wonderful thing about you on the council, because you're a former mayor.
Yeah.
So this guy get all the connections, right? He get all the connections across the state with legislators, with everybody. So it's just, I just
We all
want
work
you to
together,
know.
everybody.
We do.
Come on, we work.
We do.
No matter what level, we all work together because it's about you people.
And then the last item yesterday we had, which I think we'll spend a little bit of time on because I think it's so critical, and it is what is called the Pa'akai analysis. And let me just real briefly, I learned a whole lot yesterday, and this item was put on the agenda by the request of Councilmember Cowden. We mahalo her for that. I honestly didn't really know much about the Pa'akai analysis, but basically what it is, the legislature years ago and a Supreme Court decision requires developments to go through a process called the Pa'akai analysis. And I'll share it. It's three things you got to consider before a development is made. But the important thing, and again, I'm glad Councilmember Carvalho is here, because I'm not Hawaiian, obviously. I'm 100% Portuguese. But this fella gets some Hawaiian blood, and he understands the culture more than a lot of people. So yesterday we had, and I gotta go back and look at my paper because my memory is not that good. But we had Leimana Damate. She's the executive director of Hawaii State Ahamoku, which is the organization that is working with the state, and the executive director Lealoha Rocky Kalohiva. So they came to explain it, and then I was honored, man.
Kumu,
Frank Hewitt was in our chambers, and if you
was
haven't,
there.
gotta watch the meeting, guys. This guy was like on fire, and he's just I'm inspired by this guy for many years. He's obviously a living legend, a kumuhula, a cultural practitioner, an educator, and he is unfiltered. So if you haven't seen it, Channel 53, go check it out. Watch the meeting. Anyway, but he was in there, and anyway. Much of our resources, as you look around the landscape of our island as it's changing, is in danger. And many times developments come in and they build, and we lose access. We lose cultural sites. And that should not happen. And the state legislature made sure of that. And the Supreme Court ruled that before developers can develop, they have to go through this process called the Pa'akai analysis. And I'm going to read, just because I want you guys to understand what three issues got to be met before a development can proceed. Number one is you got to identify and scope the valued cultural, historical, or natural resource. You need to identify it. It might have been a fishing spot
or
a hunting spot, a heiau.
burials and stuff.
Burials. An
Burials
area
is
to
very
go and
important for
pray,
families, right?
worship. All of these things has to be identified by the kupuna of that area, the elders, the ones that have the knowledge, not just textbook knowledge, that no count. I love that.
No, this is the mana'o from
Frank
from
said,
the
when PhD no give you that cultural knowledge.
No, not at all.
It's from the kupuna, the people that are familiar with that ahupua'a, with that moku, and what was there before and what we need to preserve. So number one, we got to identify that. Number two, the extent to which those resources, including traditional and customary native Hawaiian rights, not Portuguese rights, Hawaiian rights, will be affected or impaired by the proposed action. So if this development is going to impair, they need to determine what the extent will be. And then finally, the feasible action, if any, to be taken to reasonably protect native Hawaiian rights if they are found out to exist. So bottom line is, If a development is going to interfere with historical or cultural practices, then it's a no-go.
Right.
But we all know over the years, and now I made that point yesterday, can we go retroactively? Because I know for a fact there are some developments across this state that have occurred and the native Hawaiian people have lost access. So, Bernard, I kind of wanted for you to chat a little bit about, because when you were the mayor, you took this very seriously.
Yes, very seriously.
You created a whole system with signage and education and information. So share with us with that.
Thank you. I wanted to touch on that, but before I did, a quick one. Just preserving the Hawaiian culture and preserving the rights of people, right? So that's the whole thing. And so took it to the next level. And as a government official, as we work ourselves within our community, was to say the decisions we make of today, of tomorrow, should I say, has to really reflect on the past. And we got to really honor that. So we worked with the Ahamoku, we worked with the key leaders throughout the state to create our moku system and identifying every island has their own moku system. We have Halalea, which is from Hanalei, kind of like to Kilauea, Ko'olau, from Kilauea, kind of like right up to Anahola, Puna, from Anahola all the way out to maybe by Koloa, and so on. So Halalea, Hanalea, Ko'olau, Puna, Kona is all the way down to the west side. Ni'ihau, we did include Ni'ihau as part of a layout for our moku system. And then Napali was the last one around for Kauai. And it's all not just picking it up. I assembled a team of Hawaiian practitioners who have the mana'o and the knowledge to bring it to the table. So if you drive along our coastline area or our highways, you can see the moku system, the plant, the color, and the fish that represented that moku. So the bottom line is identifying the moku system, honoring the past, and the decisions we got to make, all of us, has to reflect that, has to be included into the decisions we make for the future of our island. And I think that's the layout, and I think other islands are trying to do the same now. Try to at least identify each moku. And we're not just putting the color, that's the original color of that moku. That's the fish that recommend, like that. So there was a statement made there, but at the same time, it's honoring our kupuna and our Hawaiian culture.
And that moku system, the fish, the color, the plant, was not Bernard Carvalho.
No way.
This is, again, going back to the whole intent of the Ahamoku system and the Pa'akai analysis is really relying on the knowledge of the kupuna.
Yes.
And I'm not talking grandma down the street, but their grandparents. The genealogy goes all the way back up to Kamehameha in some cases, but the historical knowledge has been passed down throughout generations. That's who needs to be consulted with. The fact that you old doesn't make you a kupuna in the sense of the Pa'akai analysis. No. You gotta have that cultural knowledge, the practices, what is pono, of course. Before you set up the moku system, I'm born and raised here. I've been here 60 years. This year I'm gonna be 60 years old.
You'll be 60.
60.
Come on, man.
And I had no clue about the moku system. It was, in fact, when you started doing it, I was like, what the heck is he doing? We spend all this money for signs, but it is not just the signs. Once you understand, every single moku has leaders, elders, kupuna, that needs to be part of this process when we start to develop our land.
And the other thing was brought up, the land itself. What water flowed here never necessarily flow the same way here.
Yeah.
What grows here, not necessarily. So you got to make decisions based upon the moku.
Yeah.
And that was a whole big point too, as decisions of the future. You gotta look at each moku. And then you say, that can happen there, but that can't happen here. And then go from there.
Right. And the only way, we all know, right, the Hawaiian history was a written history. Was a oral history.
Oral.
No books. So we got to rely on the knowledge that's been passed on. And, Sherry Cummings was there yesterday. Amazing knowledge as far as the culture. I spoke with Kanani Fu today, who used to be part of our county. I was kind of surprised at her knowledge of the system. And we had representatives from all the mokus that sit on this Ahamoku that we got to rely on. But it's when we are looking at doing anything on this island in the way of development, we have to honor this system, this analysis, because we cannot afford to lose any of our cultural sites, any. And we did talk about possibly working at legislation to make sure that this Pa'akai analysis is done that is required and followed, not just recommended. The law kind of says the Ahumoku would make recommendations or advise the state, but we want to make it where when the Pa'akai analysis is done properly. Utilizing the knowledge of the true kupuna and elders of that moku, that those recommendations become required.
Right.
Plain and simple.
And no matter what the layout or whatever the future, our Hawaiian ohana have the right to that place. They have the right to access that. You cannot tell them you cannot go.
Right.
I have a right, and I'm going to be able to do this no matter what because that's what it is. We're honoring our culture and the people who live here.
So for the developers out there that are coming here, this process was not intended to stop development.
No.
But it is intended to ensure that the cultural practices are not compromised or reduced, and the developers
And Mel, could even be a pohaku or a rock wall that was there forever. You cannot tell me I cannot get there. I have a right as an Hawaiian to get to that part of that property or wherever we're at, so I have access.
And I have a right too, as a Portuguese man.
Yeah.
As long as I'm with him, as long as I'm with the Hawaiian, I can go.
We go. No.
Anyway, again, I encourage you guys to watch the meeting because it was very informative. Obviously, we don't have the time here today to go through all the presentation, but watch it, www.kauai.gov. Webcast meetings, go to the archive meetings, you can watch the meeting. This was Wednesday's meeting. Or again, Huike, man, your one-stop shop. And again, I would thank Huike, man. They do this, they allow us in here.
Huike, they do it, man.
Roger's here and he got to sit here and set up all the lights and the cameras to make us, I don't know if we look good.
We look good.
As best as we possibly can. But and they do this all as a public service for all of you.
It's awesome.
Again, Bernard, thank you.
High five.
High five.
All right.
See you guys next time.
Mahalo.
Aloha, you guys. God
Take
bless.
care.
We love you
Aloha.
guys.